Addressing the rumors of the United States of Africa. Passport. Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Kitchen Table Talk at Lolo's. In this edition, we are going to address the rumors of a One United Africa passport that is supposedly available to all citizens of the continent of Africa and African-born diasporans born of the continent to slaves' descendants. The United States of Africa is a concept for a unified political entity on the African continent, not a currently existing country or passport. The African Union, AU, does, however, have an African Union passport which is designed to facilitate free movement within the continent. This AU passport is not the same as a hypothetical United States of Africa passport, as the AU is an organization of independent states, not a unified nation. Here's a breakdown. African Union AU passport. This is a real initiative by the AU to allow citizens of member states to travel more freely between countries. It's not a passport for a unified United States of Africa, but rather a tool for regional integration. United States of Africa. This is a concept similar to the United States of America, where all African countries would form a single unified nation. This is a long-term aspiration for some, but it is not currently a reality. Relationship to passports. If the United States of Africa were to become a reality, it would likely have its own passport, distinct from the current AU passport. However, the AU passport is a step towards greater integration and free movement within the existing framework of the African continent. AU's goal. The AU's aim with the passport is to remove restrictions on movement within Africa, allowing citizens to travel, work, and live more easily across borders according to the African Union. United States of Africa passport. Is the United States of Africa a hypothetical concept? There is not a currently existing political entity. Therefore, there is not a United States of Africa passport in official use. However, the African Union passport is a proposed document that aims to replace existing national passports issued by African Union member states and allow visa-free travel within all 55 African countries. This passport was announced in 2016 and was planned for a 2023 rollout, though this has been delayed indefinitely. The concept of a unified African state has a long history rooted in Pan-Africanism, a movement advocating for the political and social unification of African people and the rights and freedoms of people of African descent globally. Let's address African diaspora returning to Africa. There's a growing movement of people of African descent, particularly African Americans, choosing to leave Western countries and return to Africa. This reverse migration is driven by a complex mix of factors, including seeking connection and belonging. Many returning individuals are driven by a strong desire to reconnect with their ancestral roots, reclaim their heritage, and find a deeper sense of identity and belonging that they may not experience in the West, where they might face systemic racism and discrimination. Economic opportunities. Africa's burgeoning economies, expanding tech sectors, and increasing demand for infrastructure and development are attracting entrepreneurs and professionals looking for new opportunities and a chance to contribute to the continent's growth. Improved quality of life and affordability. Some individuals report feeling a sense of greater peace, safety, and reduced social stress in African countries compared to Western nations. Lower living costs in some areas can also be a draw. Pan-Africanism and Black empowerment. The movement is also fueled by a broader Pan-Africanist sentiment and a desire for Black communities to invest in and empower the continent, contributing to its development and shaping its future. Targeted initiatives, campaigns like Ghana's Year of Return in 2019, which commemorated 400 years since the start of the transatlantic slave trade, have actively encouraged the diaspora to reconnect with the continent and have prompted many to consider relocation. Potential challenges: adjustment to new environment. Relocating can involve navigating bureaucratic hurdles, cultural differences, and adapting to potentially different living standards. Concerns about local impact. The influx of returnees can raise concerns among local communities about issues like increasing living costs and potential tensions over land ownership. Reconciling expectations. While the desire to escape racism and discrimination is a powerful motivator, it's important for returnees to acknowledge that societal issues can exist in different forms in Africa. Looking ahead, the trend of the African diaspora returning home is expected to continue and potentially grow. This movement presents a significant opportunity for the continent to benefit from the skills, resources, and cultural contributions of its diaspora, further bolstering its development and potentially fostering a stronger sense of shared identity and purpose among people of African descent globally. Why people of African descent want to return? The following information is according to the UN website, written by Nana Abena, Grace James, co-founder of the 6th Region African Diaspora Alliance. Nana Abena Grace James, a Jamaican national, first moved to the United States and then to Canada in her 20s. She said she wanted to repatriate to Africa since 2010, but there was no system in place for her to move her whole family. Over the years, her job as a CEO and managing director of a software development company has allowed her to work remotely, and she was finally able to move to Ghana, Ethiopia, and Kenya, one of Africa's technology hubs, before settling in Tanzania. Because of what happened during COVID, many African countries closed their borders, so those who wanted to move had to find a country they could go to. Tanzania's airport was only shut down for a month, and as soon as it reopened, a lot of people started coming to Tanzania, James said. We were one of them. Unlike those who had just flown over the Atlantic Ocean, James and her family moved to Tanzania from neighboring Kenya. She noticed that many newcomers to the continent were having difficulties settling in. With her wealth of experience living in several African countries, she decided to help. Many choose Tanzania as a doorway to move to other countries on the continent, James pointed out. Advised by different governmental departments in Tanzania to organize as a group to streamline their interaction with migrants of African descent, James and others created the 6th Region African Diaspora Alliance in Tanzania, an organization helping people of African descent repatriate from around the world. In James's experience, those who decide to move to Africa do so with different motivations. For some, it stems from a Pan-Africanist ideal. For others, such as nationals of European countries, it is because of historical and familial links. And for some, from the United States of America, it is the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. For James, it was the former, knowing that her roots lie in Africa and her desire to contribute to the betterment of African people. In addition, because of the nickname her grandmother would call her first daughter, she chose Ghana to migrate to.
I had always wondered what that name was, the name she would constantly refer to for my daughter. When I moved to Canada, I got involved in a grassroots advocacy movement, where I met a few people from Ghana who explained to me that the name my grandmother used was the name given to boys born on a Wednesday, James said. In my mind, my grandmother had no real association with that name, but had probably heard it uttered by her own mother growing up, and she then associated it with caring for a child. That is why I got attached to Ghana. This revelation convinced James that her family descended from Ghana. Going to Africa for the first time and seeing how much Ghana was like Jamaica blew me away. From then, I thought this was where I wanted to move to eventually, she said. It was then that I started to understand the Back to Africa movement and reading up on Marcus Garvey that made me who I am today, determined to migrate and help others as well.
Demanding regional political representation. In January 2015, the African Union adopted Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, as a concrete manifestation of the Pan-African drive for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity. The initiative aims to achieve a collective GDP for Africa that is proportionate to the continent's population and resources, and states that the return of the diaspora, with its infusion of talent, energy, and finances into African economies, would play a crucial role in reaching that target.
Such initiatives also invite people of African descent to reconnect with their roots, fostering a sense of identity and inclusion and contributing to the healing process, Suma said.
In addition, James believes that people of African descent who wish to move to Africa need more than an invitation. This would include reviewing entry and immigration requirements that force those who intend on staying in the country to do periodic border runs to reset the clock. There is a large amount of people who do not want citizenship because some of the countries they come from are not accepting of dual citizenship. If they give up their citizenship, they could lose the benefits they have back home. So some people only want residency. James recalled that after the African Union made its first call to the African diaspora to return in 2006, the 6th Region Diaspora Caucus, SRDC, an organization of which she is a member, started to participate in meetings convened by the African Union to advocate for African member states to amend their immigration policies to reflect the implementation of the right to return for people of African descent. We want a special status in all member states, one that will allow us an easier repatriation experience to whichever country we choose. Also, the African Historic Diaspora has been waiting on the African Union's Citizens and Diaspora Directorate and the Economic, Social and Cultural Council to create a framework of engagement, especially for the historic diaspora. Each country has 2 representatives at the African Union, but we do not have any. We have been invited, but the door is still not open for us. Again, that part of the story was written by Nana Abena Grace James, co-founder of the 6th Region African Diaspora Alliance. So what is the present truth behind the United States of Africa Passport, the United States of Africa? Passport is a proposed common passport document intended to replace existing national passports issued by African Union member states. The primary goal is to facilitate free movement of people, goods, and services across the continent, ultimately boosting intra-African trade, integration, and socio-economic development, according to the African Union. The African Union passport was officially launched in July 2016. Initially, it was intended to be rolled out and ready for use at borders worldwide by 2023. However, the rollout has since been delayed indefinitely. Presently, the African Union passport is primarily issued to heads of state and government, ministers of foreign affairs, permanent representatives of AU member states based at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Benefits of a common African passport: economic growth, increased tourism, trade, and investment within Africa, enhanced mobility, easier travel, and reduced visa bureaucracy for African citizens across the continent. Strengthened integration, fostering a stronger sense of African identity and promoting regional unity. Improved security. Biometric features on the passport aim to enhance security and ease tracking of criminals and terrorists. Challenges and obstacles. Lack of biometric systems. Many African countries currently lack the necessary infrastructure and systems for issuing and processing biometric passports. Resistance to migration, concerns about potential influxes of migrants and the impact on local labor markets and social services have led to resistance from some countries, according to the University of Pretoria. Sovereignty concerns. Some countries may be reluctant to fully open their borders and surrender aspects of national sovereignty related to migration and refugee policies. Political will and buy-in. While there's a symbolic commitment to the initiative, some observers express concerns about the lack of consistent political will and follow-through from member states. Infrastructure deficiencies. Poor travel infrastructure within Africa poses a significant challenge to truly facilitating free movement, even with a common passport. Here's what the AU website stated. Visa-Free Africa Aspiration 2 of Agenda 2063 envisions an integrated continent politically united and based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance. And Aspiration 5 envisions an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics. To achieve these aspirations of Africans seeing themselves as one people united under the ideals of Pan-Africanism, the physical and invisible barriers that have prevented the integration of Africa's people need to be removed. The Agenda 2063 flagship project, the African Passport and Free Movement of People, aims to remove restrictions on Africans' ability to travel, work, and live within their own continent. The initiative aims at transforming Africa's laws, which remain generally restrictive on movement of people despite political commitments to bring down borders, with the view to promoting the issuance of visas by member states to enhance free movement of all African citizens in all African countries. The free movement of persons in Africa is expected to deliver several key benefits, including boosting intra-Africa trade, commerce, and tourism, facilitating labor mobility, intra-Africa knowledge and skills transfer, promoting Pan-African identity, social integration and tourism, improving transborder infrastructure and shared development, fostering a comprehensive approach to border management, promoting rule of law, human rights, and public health. The Department of Political Affairs leads the AU's integration efforts as regards the ability of Africans live and work within the continent, and works with member states to identify opportunities to remove barriers to movement by Africans within Africa. In conclusion, the United States of Africa Passport remains a key initiative within the African Union's long-term Agenda 2063. While the vision for a visa-free Africa is embraced, significant hurdles, including infrastructure, political will, and sovereignty concerns, have hampered the full implementation of the Common Passport to date. I hope this information was helpful and you found more facts and was not misled. I will continue to follow up on this story, and hopefully a United States of Africa will be available to all Africans in our close future. With that being said, this is Lolo for Kitchen Table Talk. See you in the next one. Oh, don't forget to like and share this video to help spread the truth on this matter, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.